Hello! Oh, I am at an angle. Hello and welcome to the Wrestling Headlines AEW review. My name is Matt Mayer, aka Imp, and we are live here on Wrestling Headlines YouTube and later available in podcast form. Links in the description or head over to WrestlingHeadlines.net for all your latest wrestling news. I am joined once again by James Boyd of One Nation Radio to talk about AEW. How are you doing, James?
I'm doing good. I'm on the American side, so today was Thanksgiving, but Imp asked me to come on, so I was like, may as well do this. Like, it gives me an excuse to get away from the fam for like a good hour or so. So, I'm doing that, and I'm glad to be here.
So I was about to just say, thank you for coming on Thanksgiving, but the way you've worded it is, thank you for getting me away, Imp.
Thank you. It's always, like, a lot of people understand the family turmoil, so it's like, or not turmoil, tension, or whatever you want to call it, where it's like, you love your family, you're happy to see them, and then after that, it's kind of like, oh, kind of rip the cord, and kind of get out of here. So, this little hour is appreciated. You want to do this on Christmas?
Oh, Christmas as well. Just to get James out. I'm not covering day one. New Year's is not happening. No. Again, that's not AEW. I don't call James in I don't make him watch a WWE show. I'm not like that. I've not done that yet. So I remember when the first dinner of Thanksgiving show, because I had the Thursday slot when I joined Laws of Pain Radio, and I remember me and Byrne in that first Thanksgiving going, it's Thanksgiving. Is anyone going to care? Is anyone going to tune in to us talking wrestling on Thanksgiving? Yeah, we got our biggest number. Yeah. Like, we were not ready for that. Yeah.
Yeah, people want to, people want to see their family, but they don't want to see their family for very long. And, bits like this that go, commuting and whatnot, like stuff like this, people enjoy. I mean, that's the reason why in the territories on Thanksgiving, they used to run shows.
Ah, that's smart. That is smart. Yes, because the whole Survivor Series thing, all born over the Thanksgiving kind of area of the card. The card called the
Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving and Starrcade. Yeah. The whole thing.
Through from a wrestling fan, I accidentally called a calendar like the card for the year. Like, it's a wrestling card. Good card.
That's fun.
Anyway, so we're going to talk about this week's AEW, which was on Thanksgiving Eve from last night, and it's fair to say there are two talking points coming out of this show, and we're going to focus on one of my favourite segments in AEW history. But the question is this also AEW's greatest promo? Because I've got a list in my head of, it's not just AEW. In my head, it's like, what is it even? Just wrestling in general? Is it just the best in wrestling in general? But also for AEW, the only one I'm comparing it to in my head, and there must be more, but the one that jumps to my mind is the Cody one where he talks about being undeniable in the run-up to Chris Jericho.
Yes, I call it the Ellis Island promo. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. As in that moment, you're like, this man is the greatest babyface that's ever lived. Just as you're watching it in that specific moment. It's so damn good. But this is, because people brought up the comparison to how WWE does promo battles, and when they try and get real with it. So, like, sometimes they do it well, and then other times you get Roman Cena, which was, I guess, their latest attempt at a promo like this specifically. I feel like Lynch and Flair was based in a very specific event and kind of just turmoiling off of that. Whilst this is like 20 minutes, go at each other. Both of you come up with back and forth, whatever. It's a proper battle. And last time in WWE, the falling on that was there wasn't the story tied to it. Roman Reigns, Cena, they were just going hard at each other, and then you're like, but they're just ribbing on each other. There's no other story there, really. Whatever it was quite weak. So I got an interesting day on Twitter when I was saying the Survivor Series has like one story on it, and got quite a few WWE people up in my mentions, and quite a few people where I was just like, but these are people who don't have comprehension skills because you've missed the final sentence of my tweet. This is really how does this work? Am I getting ratioed by people without comprehension? I don't understand this as a British person. I feel so posh. But my main point is in WWE, it turns out I was wrong. There were stories, But they were like final episode before the show, or they weren't that strong, or they felt quite quick. So in comparison, it felt like there was no story, but that's not what I was feeling. And it turns out as well, Becky Lynch herself on the day did an article going, I prefer that, I want them to be stakes at Survivor Series. Turns out there's no stakes. Turns out, I was like, oh no, she herself said what the feeling was I was feeling. So I felt vindicated. Anyway, that's a tangent. The point was, MJF, CM Punk, this promo, that's why I brought up Cena Reigns, this promo not only had the back and forth ribbing, but it was so tied to their world, so tied to what was happening, to their story that they are telling, going at each other with the arcs of their characters in AEW and kind of like their emotions. They, like some of the biggest pops were purely character-driven ribs, not just going at the real person, which is so damn good. But before we get into specifics, James, what did you make of this promo?
One of the handful of best promos or talking segments in AEW history. The only ones that really come to mind that I think match it are, like we said, Cody's Ellis Island promo, the promo that John Moxley, I almost called John Moxley John Cena. John Moxley had with Eddie Kingston saying that, like, I'm going to beat you and you're going to have to live with your failure. Almost like Bret Hart-ish. And CM Punk's return promo after 7 years away from pro wrestling. Like, those are the ones that immediately come to mind. I'm sure there are others that are also very high up there, but those are the ones that kind of strike me as like those are incredible promos. And like I put those up there with, you know, some of the best promos of all time. And like last night was just like AEW doesn't do this, and I see that's the reason why they don't do it that often. Where like they basically spent the first 20 minutes of a show literally doing like Raw, like it was almost like an opening of promo for Raw from 23 years ago. Whereas like Austin comes out, then The Rock comes out, then Vince comes out, and they just can just eat up, and like the crowd eating up everything they have to say, and it's awesome. So yeah, like I thought it was incredible. I thought that a lot of the character work was being done by each other, having them say like their insecurities and put it out there for people. And also kind of topical because I had never heard any comparison to Miz before. The review show where Rich said that like people are making Miz comparisons for MJF, and my response was like, I've never even thought of that comparison because one, after this Darby Allin opener, I've never seen Miz roast like that a day in his life. And two, like, you know, MJF is taken a lot more seriously as far as being a top of the card guy, not someone that they'll push for a certain amount of time because they know he's a great talker. So once you know, almost a week later, like Punk throws it at MJF. Thought it was awesome, and I also like, you know, MJF mentioning Punk's past failures and how, you know, he has kind of been a master of ceremonies, an MC for Rampage especially. He comes out and says, I love being here, glad to see you guys. And then like a lot of these promos, a lot of the stuff that comes off where he gets into something is like if someone interrupts him and he, don't you dare interrupt CM Punk, he's going to want to fight you. So like it was really good. It was really catching like everybody and kind of like their a moment in time as far as like where they are as characters and where they're headed. Like especially like that Darby quip about like, I mentioned Darby because like he's the heart and soul of this company, and like it eats you up that you're not, and that's why you fought him, and that's why you punched him with the ring. Like I thought it was incredible. I thought it was really is one of the better promos I think I've ever heard. It really is.
It's the fact that it uses recent stories to the point where like, was this? Well, the past two feuds specifically going to build to this as well. Like it fits so damn well, and also as well, the key point here, we're in Chicago. Like, this is a hometown crowd for CM Punk, massively into him, and obviously because he's the hometown guy. And like when the show's starting, it's just like, oh, for me the best thing for start a Chicago show, you got to hear those notes, you got to hear the, you got to hear it. It's got to be there. I was going to do more, but I need to cut time off somewhere. Like a WWE show, no, you go 5 minutes. You plan for 10, but you go 5.
Oh man!
But still, it was a amazing way to start the show, and CM Punk comes out for his match. That's the thing. This is not a planned promo segment. CM Punk interrupted MJF segment last week walked out, said nothing, and left. But the statement was made. So this week, when CM Punk comes out for his much hyped match with QT Marshall, and the crowd goes mild. But when CM Punk is just about to get into the ring, that's when MJF rocks up. He interrupts him. It's like, doesn't feel good getting interrupted, does it? It's like, oh yes, feeding on that really well. And I was happy with that bit there. It's like, oh yeah, you've built from one week to the next really well. Then they cut this absolutely brilliant promo on each other. Like they both had so many strong quotes to the point where like I felt bad writing down just 3, but there were so many,
right?
So many. It's like for me, like the biggest one we brought on the Miz one already, but like he thinks he's revolutionary in this industry. That he thinks he's a somebody, when in reality he's just a less famous Miz. And it's just like the crowd reacting like, that boy dead. It's the way they reacting like it's had a rap battle type of, like, this, the full-on, oh, from the entire crowd. It's like, oh, it was such a good line. And you are, Rich is right, that especially on Twitter, there's been a lot of comparisons to The Miz, specifically because this might work. But the thing that gets me is those people must not be watching the show, because MJF has already shown he can do more than The Miz in other matches. Be it Sammy Guevara, be it Jungle Boy. He's already had these Darby Allin... I say quality... Darby Allin might be the best out of all of them. But he's already wrestled matches way better than The Miz has ever had in this pod.
Right.
But the comparisons never stopped, and you saw it. I would see it quite often said on Twitter. It's like, oh, but he's just like The Miz. Like, he can't really go in the ring. And I'm like, well, you've clearly that's just not true. You've just not watched the show.
Yeah. Yeah, when Rich mentioned that to me on our review for Fallout for Full Gear, I'm all over the place. Like I'm surprised I haven't said Bryanson yet. But
we'll get there. There.
Yeah, I'm sure. When he said that, I said to him the same thing. Like, my point was like, I think that people, if you're not paying close attention and you see his matches that aren't important, like just matches where he's like, he's out here and he's facing off a couple, kind of get his heat back. He's going out here and he's facing Pillman Jr. Like you would think like, okay, well that match wasn't super impressive. Why does the dude get to talk and run his mouth all the time instead of have to get in the ring and throw down? And it's like, nah, like when he's in there with someone his age, he can go out there and is at a high level. He can go out there and have a great match. Like he did that with Darby, he did that with Jungle Boy, he did that with Guevara, as you mentioned. And like most of his matches aren't built towards that. Like I think obviously the John Moxley match wasn't a classic or anything, but like that was a good match. I think people kind of file him as like he does all of this so well. So normally people that are heels that talk that well, they normally can't back it up in the ring from a technical standpoint, and he can. He doesn't really show it that well. Like he presents himself in a way to where like you only get one big match from him maybe every 2 months. So that's kind of the deal. And when you see in this particular promotion, when you see Phoenix and Pentagon and Pac, whenever Pac's here, and Andrade, Alistair, Hangman, like they're Bryan just did it. Danielson, constantly are in the ring, going at it, and like looking like the best among the best wrestlers in the world. And then you see him like only doing it, kind of doing in a like an 80s fashion, where almost like he's setting himself up for big matches on like the old Big Four for WWE, like how the Big Four are for pay-per-views for AEW. Like it's just a different way of doing it. So I can see how he gets lost in the shuffle as maybe he isn't really a good wrestler. He is. He might not be as good as Darby Allin or Sammy Guevara, but like that dude can go out there with the right person, with a match built up with emotion, and go out and have a great match, like technical. And I mean, people have convinced themselves that MJF ain't good. They've been worked. They don't like that dude, and that's part of it also. So he's a really good wrestler in the ring, and he's one of the best promos in the world.
Yeah, and the lines in this promo as well, and just the fact that the other, I guess, criticism to tackle is criticism in air quotes, because again, it's something easily kind of tackled. But I thought before MJF lent into the Cena thing, which is like, I was like, oh yes, MJF. After that Miz line, that's him done. Then he leans into the Cena thing with a comparison with CM Punk, which Punk himself led into with the Kingston feud, and calling him PG Punk. Just the you're just coming out, you're thanking the crowd. Oh, he's just so happy to be here. Where's that cutting edge guy that I grew up on? And as well as saying, you've always been second best, whether it be the you can't see me man or the King of Kings. Just leaning in to that. Where it's just. But this is where the other criticism came, and again, criticism in air quotes, because this is going to be piss easy for us to tackle, was that, oh, it's AEW mentioning ribbing on WWE again. To which I'm like, hold on a second. This was actually not a stab at WWE at all. This is acknowledging the pasts of their people exist because the audience know it. Because again, in terms of like filmmaking and things, if the audience knows it, then you have to make an active decision. Do your characters also know what the audience know or not? And in the wrestling world, it makes absolutely zero sense to pretend something the audience knows doesn't exist. Cough, cough, WWE. A land to their own.
Right. And in movies, it is particularly frustrating in certain movies where, critical information or you're smarter than the actual protagonist, right? Like, I think you could probably be like about 5 minutes, especially like non-linear movies. Like, I think it's best to be 5 minutes ahead of the protagonist at any given moment. Like, and once you get further than that, you just kind of get yourself in trouble. But yeah, like here's the response to that criticism of people saying they use AEW too much. I don't necessarily disagree with you, but while saying that, there is also this part with AEW. They acknowledge the history of pretty much everybody's background, right? So you will have Emi Sakura versus Riho, and they are talking about an ice ribbon promo or an ice ribbon storyline of teacher and student from like a decade ago. It's ice ribbon. Like, they just had their 50th anniversary in front of like less than 500 people. So when you have people with a history like CM Punk as being a main event headliner, a person that has been a multiple-time champion, a person that had a 400-some-odd day run with the WWE title, don't give me that you can't use his history. Like, it's not illegal to mention other promotions' history. Like, you just have Punk basically talk about the Indies and ROH with Eddie Kingston, right? You have everybody. You've had allusions from Kenny Omega about Kota Ibushi on more than one occasion. You had him when he cut that one weird thing about how, like, apparently the powers that be in New Japan don't want him and Ibushi together. And then you had on the Go Home show that contract signing where Hangman is mentioning Ibushi. You have constant mentions of, not constant, but like pretty regular like name drops of Okada. We've had Tanahashi give a happy birthday wish to Chris Jericho, and all the Forbidden Door stuff back and forth with all the New Japan dads with Moxley. So, like, this is a promotion for the world, just like most promotions are. WWE does it closed circuit, however you want to call it. Like, that's just a difference of how these both interact. Like, I do think at some points it can be kind of irritating when they do digs at WWE, and the only reason why I find that to be an issue is like because we know WWE will not throw digs back on screen. So, like, really for me, like, if you want to go back to the Monday Night Wars, we got Billionaire Ted promos and Jim Cornette talking about how Roddy Piper and Hulk Hogan, how the commentators are lying about that awful match being one of the best cage matches of all time, when it wasn't even like the best tag or cage match that month because there was the first ever Hell in a Cell. Then sure, but like, I just think people got to come to peace with it's like, these people have histories. You're going to rely on it because that enhances the storytelling, as opposed to like someone has to show up and his name is CM Punk and we have to pretend like everywhere CM Punk was never happened.
Yeah, because it's not like, because it is AEW has decided it is a continuous world. Like, everyone who shows up. Like, you got Bobby Fish and Adam Cole making Undisputed Era references. Right. This isn't a different movie, which is, because I have seen some comments on Twitter kind of responding to this to different people. I've seen somebody say, well, it's a new company, so for me, I want there to be new characters completely with a fresh slate. That's their personal want. But the thing is, to use that as a criticism here, you're ignoring already established information. AEW has told you, just like James gave so many examples, and he's not even named all of them.
No, I have not.
Yeah, I mean, I just did another one with the Bobby Fish Adam Cole. There are so many, and to then go, oh, I think this is bad because they're using this history. So they can use any history, just not the one company. And that's the thing I don't quite get. Like the feud Punk just came out of as well.
Say again?
The feud Punk just came out of with Eddie Kingston. Like, that was all about their history.
Right. And, like, I mean, you look at this company, and, like, I can't remember the last time there wasn't somebody that was on the show on a regular basis that wasn't, at least one person that wasn't a champion from a different promotion. Like, right now, obviously, the vacated thing with the AAA Mega title with Kenny Omega now, he's going to get, he'll get some, rehab and surgery or whatever else for however many months he's going to be gone. But, like, we still have FTR as the AAA tag champions. We have, earlier in 2020 for most of the year, or the first half of 2020, you had Riho coming around with multiple belts because she was a Stardom High Speed champion. Like, so I don't really, and this is why she was also the AEW World Women's Champion. So it's like, I don't really see how, you present these belts, you show them that people are champions of other promotions. The Impact title as well with Christian earlier in the year, and also Omega. Like, this is a thing. Like, they are open, like the Forbidden Door and people, all that kind of stuff is like, that includes also putting that in the history with these other promotions into storylines. Like, you also, another Darby one, like Darby and Ethan Page was playing off of like the stuff they did on the indies. I believe it was in Evolve.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So I mean, there's tons of examples of this. Tons of examples.
Yeah.
Of this.
So even though it is a thought that obviously I can be like, yeah, but that's your personal opinion. That's what you personally prefer. Obviously, entertainment's subjective. Right. But to then use that as a criticism in a world which has already given you so many examples of them acknowledging the entire wrestling world because you, the audience, know it. Or when they've done that, they will then inform you of it. Because, going to be honest, obviously I didn't know the Ice Ribbon history. Not going to lie. Surprise. But it is part of that, just letting you know of the wider wrestling world. And that kind of makes the whole world feel kind of lived in this massive, massive space compared to this one island of this is it. Because I would call it a kind of hangover from the pure WWE era, because TNA wouldn't really acknowledge outside, except for if they were doing a deal with them, like when they had their deal with New Japan. So the kind of TNA played to the WWE world compared to AEW. They've said they want to do everything their own way, and they generally are doing it in their own way, borrowing lots of different ideas from things they personally liked that was already out there. It's like a collection of the greatest ways to do it, rather than everything being brand spanking new. Because as I've said before, nothing AEW's done if you look at it individually, is, oh my god, that idea is revolutionary. It's like, no, it's just competent. It's just competent thinking. It's not that crazy. Yeah. Competent writing, competent just thinking things through. But it is a carryover from the pure WWE world that wrestling was. Because again, just the comments of all the criticisms of AEW, there's so many people who were formerly in WWE. It's like, yes, because for years, WWE was wrestling. There was nowhere else. So if you wanted to be a big successful guy, you went to WWE. And and so many were in the developmental, so many, like NXT has then ended up becoming an amazing developmental for AEW. They've created so many stars of them.
Right. I think the thing for me is, like, I kind of, now that you mentioned it, kind of falls into the mention of how you mentioned how they, people, there is criticism of they're using too many WWE guys, and like I think either, I mean, it could be multiple things, but like, I mean, the main things will be like either A, you're saying this in bad faith, B, you don't remember like what caused WWE to win the Monday Night War, the talent that helped them win the Monday Night War, and I just, like, nah, man, like Undertaker, Triple H, Steve Austin, they all got their starts in WCW, and then they ended up in WWF. And the Rock is really like the only star that was like there. Well, you say Kurt Angle as well, but Kurt Angle was an Olympian, Olympic gold medalist. But like those you think of the people that have been like the biggest stars in the company's history in the last 30 years, or let's say 25 years, and like most of them started out and had a notable start somewhere else aside from like the Rock and Angle, one that were still like WCW around. So like I don't think that's necessarily a criticism to really throw at WWE. So when people say it about AEW, I'm kind of like, I mean, if you want to go there, then like let's talk about like how many Ring of Honor people are in WWE over the last, since 2016. We're not going to do that, and you know why they're not going to do that. So that's what it comes down to me. Like you look at AEW, like it's the heart of it is like what stuff that happened in Ring of Honor in New Japan.
And that kind of like leads into the like final two lines to address as well. Both of them from CM Punk. So the first one was saying that MJF, you're talking about the four pillars, but you not even realised you've been replaced by Britt Baker. Which I thought was so
a fun
good.
Line.
And especially as it just like dawns on me now that when we're talking about like the future and homegrown talent, they've got that in those four people, in those four pillars. And it said Britt Baker as well. And then they're also building the future. Like, look at it, they've got fighting Eddie Kingston and Rampage. Like, yet another awesome veteran to wrestle Garcia. And then they've got Dante Martin, where Team Taz are doing everything they can to get him on their team because they rate him so incredibly highly. He's such an incredible young talent that they want him that strongly. It's like, yeah, they're building the crop after the four pillars as well. Like, it's all getting there. They are setting up for like a super long-term future where they got these still mid-20-year-old guys who are ready to take over once the current generation kind of where the crowd starts to tire of the current generation. That next one is ready. They're already bubbling under the surface. They're already making their claims, and like to that point where I feel like the next champion after Page, unless you do like a mega heel run for a veteran guy in between this and the one of the four pillars winning it, because again, I wouldn't be against a mega heel run for CM Punk, who then puts over one of the four pillars to kind of transition from Hangman. Of course, I'm talking quite a while down the line.
Yeah.
You could also just skip that and go straight to MJF, and he's the heel champion. There's so much to play.
Yeah, I think some combination of the next five champions will be Darby Allin, MJF, Daniel Bryan. So I just said Daniel Bryan. Bryan Danielson, Adam Cole, and CM Punk. Like some combination, probably like three of the five will at least be the champion. Like, and I'm pretty sure I'm almost guaranteed. I almost want to say as a guarantee that like Darby's going to be champion, but MJF is a lock. But like that's kind of where it is. And they've done that work to get to that point, and we'll see. As you mentioned with Dante, that they have something in the works for a future champion, and like you kind of starting to see that with the women's division during this tournament, where you see like Jade and you see which is obvious, but like I felt this for a while now that like Red Velvet as a TBS champion or as a AEW Women's World Champion, like that I think that her day will come for that. And Serena and Jamie Hayter and like they are a lot of the criticisms that were happening after All Out with the three new talents coming in around that time, and like the lack of the trouble with the women's division, the lack of time or lack of focus, most importantly lack of focus, and then like the lack of black wrestlers on the card. Like I feel like there have been some real steps towards trying to work on that since in that cycle since, and even following through with that. Like so I like I think the future is in good hands already, but like even the long term future is being taken care of right now.
And give us the promo. Holy shit! Because again, far enough into this show to say swear words. I have to get past a certain minute line before I can openly swear. When MJF was delivering like his great zingers, Punk was right there, stabbing right to the core. I was like, oh, it was so good. The fact that both of them had some really hard shots as well. Calling out that Punk challenging the heart and soul of AEW in Darby Allin instead of him, just eating Maxwell up inside. And Punk with just the absolute killer, and also a knock on Triple H. So this one is an actual criticism from Punk to WWE. But who's number one around here? Is it you? The only way you'll be number one is if we wait around long enough for Tony to have a daughter that you marry. It's just like, good God.
Yeah.
Just murdered Triple H with that line.
Yeah. and the thing about it is, like, when we talk about the WWE, references or whatever else, like, it also works in the history of CM Punk because, like, we know he hates The Miz because he said that foul thing to him about a year ago about Saudi Arabia on Twitter, and also, like, we know that Triple H does not like, that Triple H and CM Punk have never liked each other, which he's even said in interviews when coming back is like all the old timers that love me also are like looked up to by the guys that also love them, and like, but they don't get along with me, and I've always found that weird. He's clearly talking about like Harley Race and different old school people that helped him on the way that like Triple H adored, and like, but then there was a conflict when it came to getting it to work in WWE. So yeah, like if you want to say that's a criticism, I mean, sure, but like we know CM Punk don't rock with Miz or Triple H for real.
Yeah, and it makes sense to then bring that up here. And is it? Oh yes, so damn good, so good. What for me in terms of is it the best AEW promo? Yeah, the question, I guess. Punk, Kingston, the Cody one, the Moxley. Is that there's so many great promos. I came out of this thinking, well, this is definitely one of the best, and past that it becomes subjective. Just CM Punk's had 2 feuds in a row where the people were just excited to see him talk to the other person. They're both so damn good on the mic. Yeah, AEW doing a really, really good job with these. Anyway, we have got the rest of our show to get through. So, let's start with the really high point of QT Marshall wrestling on Dynamite. Oh, yeah. There's some sarcasm in there. Yeah, this match was just to give the hometown man his win. That's just a crazy concept that these new companies have come out with out of nowhere. No one said it was a good idea before AEW did it. And that's science. That sudden reminder of, oh yeah, they're going to do a wrestle now. It's like AEW. He did come out for a match. They're going to actually have the match now. Punk beating QT in convincing fashion, as he should. Not a job out, not a complete destruction, like using the anger from the promo to really go at QT. No, they had a semi back and forth match, but Punk was always winning, and he won. Do you have any further comments, Big Full Boyd from Thanksgiving, before we move on?
No, this crowd was dead as hell when QT Marshall kept this match competitive or was controlled, and then until CM Punk had his comeback at the very end of the match, the crowd got back up for it, and then he won. That was kind of it.
Yeah, pretty much. Moving on to Tony Schiavone with the Jungle Express backstage. Christian talking about their momentum, having them feel unbeatable. Jungle Express are number one contenders in the tag division again, but this time they have that momentum and Christian Cage. So yes. Those two things together be enough.
And he made sure that he's like, you guys will be the next champions. It's almost as if he was saying like, I will cheat for y'all.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I think that after that first 20 minutes, like comparatively speaking, I thought that Christian really didn't have much to say, obviously, because that was like one of the most important things they've ever done. So it was obviously lacking in comparison, but it was good to get their faces out there, and kind of touch on where they stand right now after they murdered, or Jungle Boy murdered someone with a concerto,
like all heroes do. It's fair to say. Also, this feels like the first step in what they probably should be doing in making Jungle Boy one of their grand champions. And this is part one, get him the tag belts. I feel like he's almost a lock to be maybe the first grand champion with the TNT tag and AEW. Because I don't think I think the TNT one is the one that's missing. And Guevara's not being tag champion, and Jungle Boy could be the first one to do it. It feels like the most natural to kind of... Obviously, it's AEW. They've got the time to do it slowly. But I feel like he's the most natural guy to do it, especially as he can just start in the tag division and then go singles slowly and slower. Yeah, this feels like a great first step for that.
I think there's a very good chance that Jungle Boy ends up being like the Bailey, if we were comparing them to. Like you're talking about 4 pillars, and compared to the 4 horsewomen. Like he could be like the latest bloomer, and then like once he achieves, it's like you look back and it's like, wow, look at all this that was done to get this clique of of stars all in line. Like, so yeah, I can see that happening.
Yeah, and each one can take like a year. Like, you've got years to do this. Like, even longer than that. Like, that's the thing with AEW.
And tons of wrestlers.
Yeah, and there's this setting you up for the future so much that you expect things to play over over a really, really long time. With the only company I've ever trusted to do that was New Japan. Obviously, recent era, question mark, but the rest of it,
like 2015 through 2019.
Yeah. Just I guess like the one I look at the most is the Naito arc. Just how many years it was between like each point as well. Like you start like even his split from Takahashi. To think that he and Yuji were a tag team once. Just they wrestled in TNA as No Limit. They're on one of the lockdown pay-per-views. It's really weird. But yeah, they get the pretty stereotypical Japanese music. Oh, you're Japanese, lad, are you? Why don't we just get out the just the glockenspiel? It's got there's only one song you can do for Japanese people in wrestling, apparently, until the recent era where they allowed actual music. As in past the same notes. Anyway. So, just they were the last company I trusted to do like a years long. We're talking like 2011 till whenever he was finally crowned champion. Like, it all flowed as one big thing. There was a massive shift in the middle when something wasn't working, but it all flows for like 8 years, which is insane. And the one big arc from Okada to Okada was 4 years. AEW are setting themselves up to have me trust them on that level. So that's why I feel like I can get stronger. Obviously, we're not past like the first 3-year test really where you can start to really judge a company like this, but we're getting there. Eddie Kingston trying to just cut a nice Thanksgiving promo, just be happy. He's in his happy place in catering with him and his piece of cake. He just wants to eat his cake. However, 2.0 once again getting in his face, going after him. And it's Matt and Jeff. I don't actually know which one's Matt and which one's Jeff. Jericho helps.
Same.
Yeah, as I say, Jericho helps, but we called one of them the one with the square head. It was like, I remember that, but I'm not going to remember their name. They are hilarious on BTE. They're one of my favourite ones that come out every week. It's just those two just going at somebody. As they say on BTE, they do a bit where they chew off somebody, as in they just rant about something someone's done. And they're hilarious. I absolutely love them. But part of it is going in here. On the show, they are delusional jobbers. And I love that. They've just got all the confidence in the world and every time to get their ass kicked. There's no kind of, we're going to get our heel wins to build all that heat. It's like, no, you lose every match. And you go into the next one as if you did get your heel win and get that confidence. Because you're delusional, and I love that. But Daniel Garcia has actual talent, and that's kind of the way it works. Also, with Daniel Garcia holding up the fists as well. I love that. Just taunting Eddie. So, that was such a good ending to it as well. With Garcia like that and Eddie Kingston ready to murder. It was so good. So damn good. Setting something up with those two for Rampage, was made official late in the show. And I think this next match, it's obviously just on the same quality bar. It's Gun Club versus Bear Country. This is straight out off of AEW Dark. It's Gun Club. So I didn't know this until Rich told me. Gun Club have remained undefeated on AEW Dark, and that's kind of where, and they kind of use that. And of course, I say to elevate, but that's what Dark Elevation is. But to even elevate from there, of this thing has relatively worked on Dark. Let's try it on the main card. And and we're kind of seeing that slow transition every now and then with something. I don't know why it's Gun Club, but it's testing the formula. I get it. Gun Club remains undefeated as a team. This week, Billy tagging with his son Colton as the hype son Austin. He was the hype man throughout the lockdown era. Like, in that crowd, he was Austin Gunn's perfect role is front row in the crowd, not.
Yes, and also like donning Hikaru Shida's garb.
Like he's just. And to be fair, in this match, they start to utilise him like, actually, he's a really good man just to have on the front row, creating noise. Let's just have him manage from ringside for us on this. Yeah, I don't really have much for the match. They won. They remain undefeated. There's not really much else to say. Billy Gunn's wearing a choke. I noticed that. It's like, oh, interesting outfit, Billy. But after the match, there was one thing of note. After the match, Sting comes out. Austin charges at him, and in an absolutely amazingly timed run from Darby Allin, because Austin doesn't stop running, he just charges at Sting, who's stoic as ever, as Darby Allin just powers out with just everything behind, just taking the man out. And it's like, that was timed amazingly. That looked incredible for both men. Sting with the absolute trust that Darby Allin will be there right in time, and I guess the same for Austin, who's doing the run as well. So that was so damn good.
It was awesome. It almost made all of that time wasted on that match worth it. Almost.
Yeah. almost. After that, we get I feel like, for when I do this segment, this next one, we got Punk MJF earlier. They can't all be winners. It's Adam Cole and Bobby Fish talking about being best friends, and they're the best friends in AEW, but then the tag team of best friends rolling, and no, we're the best friends. Quite literally, we are the best friends, and that sets up our match. It's just like, okay, we got Punk MJF earlier. They're not all going to be winners. That's what this is. Fine.
Yeah, Adam Cole says, either Cole or Fish is like, I don't even know what your name is. And I was like, well, you just said it. And obviously, that's their humor. But yeah, this was one of those like, they decided to give them time, and they didn't use it to the best of their capabilities. But at least we're going to get a match out of it.
Yeah, at least the match will be great. It'll be super fun. Just a fun Dynamite match. I'm perfectly down for that. FTW contract signing. Just a little segment that I thought would go relatively run of the mill, as in this is just a story beat we need to get out of the way to move to the next thing, is what I was expecting. What we actually got was Dante seemingly going against Lio Rush and actually signing with Taz, and just to seal the deal, he partook in the hook snack. That seals the deal. You take your, in America they're called chips, take your chips from Hook and you're in. It's just, you don't say no to Hook when he offers you chips. That's the rule I've learned.
Okay, so I think at the beginning I thought that given that Leo came in and he was talking about how he has some friends, or he has some people in high positions of power that he uses, he makes money, more or less like looking at underutilized assets or whatever else. So to me it sounded like he was a scammer. Right?
Yeah.
So I thought that, with Darius out, he was going to, team up with Dante when he pulls Dante away from the Seidels. And then eventually we're going to go down a path to where they're a really good tag team, and either Leo like eventually comes forward and exposes himself to be a fraud all along, or it was going to be a choice of like they're going to come upon a chance to get the tag titles, and then like that's right around the time Darius comes back and he has to decide on if he wants to stick with this guy that's helped him start winning, or he's going to stick with his own blood, his brother. This now with Leo looking over this contract with Team Taz, and then he's saying like, this is a bad deal, don't sign this, and then Dante still signs it. To me, it screams that like, nah, they're going with like Leo actually being a babyface. He's really looking out for Dante's best interest, but Dante is young and dumb, and he hasn't like had some of the bad things, or things go bad in a way that like they've gone bad for Leo in other places, right? So like obviously like they're going to reconnect and they're going to be better for it, and like I actually like this story better, that Leo isn't actually for now not actually really a scumbag. He's actually looking out for Dante, and eventually they'll team back up again. So I really liked it because Leo and Dante together, like they're fantastic.
Oh yes,
they're fantastic.
Yeah.
So like this is actually like turning out to be better than what I thought it was going to be originally.
Oh, 100%. And it gives you the opportunity to, as you're saying, if you have the whole thing with Darius, if he does side with Blood, you could just have Leo say the same. Just there's a certain debut that could, talking of swerves, there's a certain debut that you could do just via this angle, and I feel like it's not known that widely, so it could be a genuine shock for most of the audience. So, I mean, there's a certain free agent, certain hottest free agent that you could very naturally bring in. My only thing is, actually, the way I'd want the arc to play out would be way past the whatever the clause is, whatever day compete there is. So yeah. Because for me, it's like there's certain people where it's get them ASAP. Whenever that no complete ends, get them. I wouldn't be surprised because quite a few people still on NXT contracts, given how quick certain things happened. I wouldn't be surprised. Although we did get a few people with new contracts then, but it doesn't matter. Tangent. Anyway, the TBS Championship Tournament quarter-final matchup between Jamie Hayter and Thunder Rosa. A sign that I enjoyed a match so much is when I suddenly realised at the ad break that I'd not written any notes because I was just soaked up in watching it. This was such a good match. And just to quickly say the result before we go into how much we liked it. A brutal looking proven necktie from Rosa immediately called our baddies in for the interference, but it all fell down with miscommunication. Baker super kicking the Southampton lass right in the jaw and letting Rosa back in to score a quick pin win. James, what did you think of this match? As I've just said, I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, very, very good match. One of the more physical regular rules matches you'll see in AEW women's division so far. One of the things I was concerned about with Jamie in AEW, and I think people don't really know this yet, is like she's a hell of a promo. And like it just hasn't been given space for that because most of the oxygen in the building in the room has been taken up by Britt. I mean, she's more built to be like a goon muscle, so she hasn't really been able to showcase that. But like, she's very charismatic, she's a great talker, and she is a hoss. And they haven't really showed her in one of those matches yet until now. And like, this is kind of what you would see when she would like bully around like the smaller women in Stardom. So I was happy to see it, and like there's a lot more to be honest with you with Jamie. Like I think highly of her. I wish she had never left Stardom, to be honest with you. So but yeah, like I think that now that she was caught dead to rights in the Peruvian necktie, as you said, and Britt breaks it up, and then Britt tries to cheat and she ends up eating a super kick and she's mad. Like, we'll see where this goes. Like, this could be a way to get her away from Britt, or kind of get her out on her own, or to eventually get a match for over being upset. So we'll see what happens. But like, I'm kind of happy that like they're starting to push the button on whatever is going to happen to get her to wherever they want her to be, as opposed to just being a goon.
Oh yeah, and I feel like that's a really good place to, if they're all set up for that, whenever Baker loses the title, so that there's immediately a program. Because I don't know if it needs to be for the title, especially as the idea is to probably elevate Hayter with it rather than Baker retaining. So it feels like that's a thing you have bubble, and then when it's ready, all fires. But they're setting it up now, which is like it's the AEW thing. They know they're going to do a thing, so they start setting it up months in advance, if not way before, so that it makes sense when it happens. Rather than, it'd be cool if we did this. Yeah, let's do it then. Okay. No, build to it.
Right.
Don't just do it.
Like we were talking about the MJF eventual AEW World Title run. It's like, what's going to happen. Like, eventually they're going to press that button, and Wardlow is going to have like a Batista-like storyline with MJF. Batista Triple H storyline with MJF. Like, you've seen it for over a year now. And like, when it happens, people are gonna be like, look back. It's like, yeah, because they've been showing you all this stuff. Like, when he's a grown ass man, he has someone watch over him as an accountability. Like, come on, come on,
come on.
So, they're really good at sowing seeds. They really are.
And it's the Triple H technique of just when it's November time, just sprinkle everywhere, something all cotton on. Then you can go. Even if set it up.
Yes, even if you have to shoot like 3 angles in one match on a Survivor Series, even if you got to do that.
Yeah, he knows what's up. Chris Jericho interview with Tony 2.0 showing up again. They're just a glutton for punishment as they unwisely cut Chris Jericho off. And this is where I learned that one of them I will always remember as Squareface, the one with the square face. I don't know if it's Matt or Jeff, but I know it's got a square face. Yeah, and that's pretty much it, really. Ran them down, and I guess they're going to get beaten up by Jericho next. It's just, I mean, it's good to see all the veterans kind of like, yeah, I'll be happy to wrestle Garcia, and just give all of that experience to him, to turn him into this awesome talent in the future. Really, really great to see. After that, we got the run over. It probably would have been better to talk about immediately, but Britt Baker giving her thanks and a little Thanksgiving special with her friends without Jamie Hayter. Kind of just a little note there, where it's Reba one side and Tony Schiavone. But Tony ruined it all by announcing that Rio will be getting a Black Friday deal match against her this Friday. If Rio wins, she gets a title match against Baker, aka what we've seen ruined in WWE as the Championship Contenders match. But the reason I crapped on that in WWE and I'm not here is in WWE they book those matches almost every single week on their television. The champions lose all the time on their shows. Like, not every week, but they lose all the time.
Often, regularly.
Yeah. Like I was talking about last week with the women's tag team division, where almost as soon as the Kabuki Warriors versus Banks and Bailey ended, then every single women's championship feud has been champions lose, singles matches, title match. Maybe with if you've got an extra week, maybe you do a multi-person, you're involved in an 8-man or an 8-woman or something like that, or you do a promo or something. But it was that pattern, and the fact that it got to the latest one with Nikki Ash, ASH, and Rhea Ripley, and it was the exact same pattern again. It was a full year of the same story, just different people telling the same story. And so that's why when they introduced Championship Contenders, they were booking that anyway, and then they slapped a name on it to make it important. Well, no, it's the same booking. You've just put a name on it now. Why should I get excited for this? Like, that's having your commentators be all, oh my god, it's a Championship Contenders match. What does this mean if they win? Well, it's inconsistent what it means, but that's like the lesser of the evils, I guess. But here with AEW, they do these matches every now and then, especially with Britt Baker, like Abaddon back at Halloween. I say back like it was a long time ago, but they do these every now and then. But it's not all the time. It's like maybe once every few months there'll be a match like this. It just so happens to have been one at Halloween, one on Black Friday. The name's a bit of a cheeky pun, Black Friday deal match. Also, it is kind of work. This is not. We've praised AEW like sowing the seeds, long storytelling. This was a genuine mistake. And they've looked back on it, and now they're kind of like working on that. But yeah, it'll be a fine enough little match.
Right, much like the Suzuki incident. Or it's like, yeah, she won't even throw whatever, like she'll fix it. And we've watched elimination matches in Japan or battle royals in Japan. They go over the top rope too, so I don't know what happened, but but yeah, like it'll be good to see Riho. I know Rich will be happy. Yeah, because after she lost the title, it's almost like a proof of life thing. Like, kind of, where is she? Like, she was no longer in Stardom, so you wouldn't see her there. Like, she would pop up here and there on like Tokyo Joshi Pro. You're like, okay, so she's on Dark. All right, at least I know she's alive because I heard she was announced or something. But like, what happened to the first our inaugural women's champion?
Actually, yeah, the last time before the Battle Royal, the last time I saw her wrestle was in the Lightspeed match at Stardom. Like, I've not really seen her stateside, so it's nice to see her back. There's that, at least. Yeah. She'll be a great opponent for Baker. That'll be fun match. After that,
yeah, I mean, if nothing else, because Britt is hit or miss. Like, if nothing else, they have their story to rely on of the of the heel, the larger heel working over the baby face and baby face found underneath. Like, at worst, they should be able to tell that story.
Yeah, and you've got that dangling carrot of the championship as well. So if Rio does win, it's not a title match, so Rio can win, which makes it like it's in your head that no, she can legit win. This is not uncertain. It's unlikely, but it's not uncertain. So I do like, because AEW doesn't really pin their champions. They like them to be strong. Unless they are directly feeding into something, they don't like to pin them. So yeah. Anyway, moving on to another awesome segment. Bryan Danielson versus Colt Cabana. Bryan Danielson, the former WWE guy, beating all the Dark Order babyfaces in their hometowns. You'd love to see it. In the end, Cabana, with the faintest of tap-outs, after getting stomped on the head multiple times, which seemingly legit knocks out one of his teeth, before the label lock had him out. And in another notch for the awesome badass Bryan, where he cuts a promo holding one of Cabana's teeth that he kicked out. Like that's a badass move. And actually, before we move into Hangman coming out, what did you make of this match, James?
It was a good match. Like Colt with the comedy stuff, or being more of his stuff feels more like a comedy type of match than an actual serious match, with like how Danielson gets down. He just beat him up for being obviously lower on the shelf, lower on the totem pole, and also like doing some like the Dusty Rhodes bionic elbow and stuff like that. But I think they kind of got lucky with, it's a fortuitous thing that happened that a tooth got knocked out, because he could then say like, look how much I brutalized this guy. But yeah, I thought it was a good match, and that was pretty much the end of it.
Yeah. Why, Bryan? Your former Ring of Honor friend. It's no regard. No regard. Then after that, Hangman was out in his gear with his championship over his shoulder, after Danielson ran him down last week specifically for not being dressed for competition. So, once again, and that was never brought up on commentary, I don't think. It was just, that wasn't brought up by either person. It was just, if you're paying attention, one guy said something, the other guy visually responded, but there was no thing past that. This time, Bryan saying no because he's just wrestled a match. Like, Paige trying to take advantage over him wrestling a match. Of course he won't wrestle him. Then Paige running the whole, come on, I'll even let you have the first shot. It's running that whole stick. Still a no from Danielson. But don't forget, he's a dickhead. Strike to the face anyway for a wee little brawl. Dickhead Danielson just escaping to avoid the buckshot. And this was another really strong setup for their eventual title match that I assumed was going to take place on their TBS debut. But again, there's the announcement for like the Belt Special show on January 8th. I've seen some hype up that they could be doing matches here, but I thought that was just going to be a live show, like a special live show that's not going to be aired anywhere. So anything they're building is not going to be on that show, because that show's not airing on TV. It's not a pay-per-view. It's a special. If it is going to air anywhere, it'll be like much later down the line in a little surprise of, by the way, we recorded this show. So there's that. I feel like it is going to be that TBS debut. They're setting up a lot of stuff for that, and I'm quite looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's build up a big show for television so that you can get people and your fans focused on the fact that like we've changed channels. Makes sense to me.
Yeah, same here. I reckon they'll load it with titles, or at least big matches. Maybe even CM Punk MJF will be on that show, because he got Revolutions all the way in February. So as much as I'd like that to play out, as much as I would like it to go that long, nah. And you can stretch it to Rampage if you want, just like they did with Grand Slam. You can split it. And this brings us to the main event of both the show and this review. It's belt time. Cody Rhodes, Pac and Lucha Bros versus Malachi Black, Andrade El Idolo and FTR. And also, like, during these entrances, I was just watching this going, I absolutely love Andrade's entrance. Just the whole presentation, just the music. He feels like an absolutely massive deal, and then I get his song stuck in my head whilst I'm watching the show. And it's one of the better songs to get stuck in your head. It's not Yoshitatsu. It's a much better song to get stuck in your head. Yoshitatsu, great song for trampolining, awful song just to be sitting there watching a show. Oh dear. But yeah, this match, the amount of talent in this ring, like good lord, and a white hot crowd loving the hell out of the multi-man chaos. But James, could they coexist?
Yeah, could they coexist indeed? I really enjoyed this match. I probably have to watch it again to understand or to give a true like sense of how good it was. But like they were flying around and it was fun, and it felt, at times it felt almost like watching like a wild like indie match, or like a WWE house show match, just throwing people in there for like a holiday weekend thing where they just put multiple people on there and they go out there and just do a bunch of crazy stuff. I think I'm about done with matchups involving Alistair or Malachi and Cody, but outside of that, like I thought this was a fun match, a very fun match.
Oh yeah, like, and the atmosphere throughout it as well was absolutely fantastic. A great start to that atmosphere as Cody, as the true buckled up babyface, throws his belt into the crowd and they treat him like John Cena at One Night Stand. Just throw it right back.
Yeah, here's the thing, right? Like, I think for a while, I thought that someone throwing the belt back was going to happen, but the fact that it happened in Chicago makes all the sense in the world, because, like, the Chicago Cubs, most popular, their most popular baseball team in Chicago, it's a tradition where, like, if the road team hits a home run, the fan throws the baseball back into the field, or back into the field to play. Just a tradition. So, like, it happened in Chicago, so it makes all the sense in the world to like they throw the belt back, because like at this point Cody is in this weird place. So it made all the sense in the world that it finally did happen in Chicago. I just hope that it doesn't continue happening, because that belt almost really could have hurted. My God, that belt could have potentially hurt Aubrey or anyone else not paying attention. Because like I don't really like when Cody throws that belt into the stands, because like what if you're not paying attention and you end up getting hit with the belt with the buckle? So that's one thing I think I've thought about for a while now. But now that it damn near hit Aubrey, or did hit Aubrey, it could have been worse.
Oh, yeah, you saw it. It just takes one person who doesn't know how to throw a belt, as we saw here. Just kind of like, it went vertically at her as well, which means the buckle, if it was on that end, that's gonna swing up into her face with momentum. So, yes, there are the ropes, but that's an even more dangerous talk. Like, no, yeah, be careful with this. This was a one-time thing, which was awesome. It was all in good faith, all within this thing, but... Yeah. Also, I had no idea. Talk about Chicago. I had no idea why it was called the Second City. I knew it was, but I generally didn't know that history until Punk brought it up. I was like, oh, that's much better. Yeah. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. In America, we have a history of like major cities being burnt to the ground and being rebuilt again. Like that happened to Atlanta as well.
I'm not that wised up on stuff. The only things I know are the names, which are English town names just with New put in front of it. Like New Hampshire, New York.
Right. New England. Yeah, right? The whole area.
There are multiple, because I live in Nottingham, there are multiple Nottinghams in America. Just in different states and things. There's, yes. So I know that. I know that's all of my, like, US. My geography for the states is awful.
Like, the funniest thing for me is, right, like, in the state of Alabama, I believe their capital is Birmingham, right?
Yeah.
And like Birmingham, Alabama, and Birmingham, England are so different. They're entirely different. But the fact that they have the same name is always kind of like made me chuckle. So I'm with you.
Like you wouldn't, and ironically, in both of them, you can't understand a word someone's saying for completely different accent reasons. It's pretty... Anyway, the pre-action, I was thinking about giving them both a go. Then I was like, that's a different one to switch between. I don't know if I can do it.
I don't think there's too many people that are able to, definitely handle that one.
You've got Pete Dunne. It's just him and Tyler Bate. They're Birmingham. They're good luck understanding them totally. Type of stuff. Anyway, the pre-action stare downs, just letting me know AEW are just keeping Malachi Black versus Phoenix in the back pocket. Cool. Cool. And they did get together in this ring, and the crowd did go crazy for it. Just to let you know, if you want to do it, Tony, we are up for it. I'm not going to go. And I am kind of done with Malachi Black Cody. So if you want to have Malachi Black kind of transitioning to helping Andrade with those guys, like Malachi Black versus any of the De La Muerte guys, they'll all be bangers. Every one of them. I'm really looking forward to those. Also, AEW are so damn good at these crazy fun main events. wouldn't be surprised if it's that kind of link to PWG, where this was like, that was their specialty, was you'd get these crazy multi-man main events, and they were always great. They were always kind of like this fun, chaotic style as well. They weren't afraid to just go pure silly either, but it just worked. You were guaranteed a fun time.
Yeah, multi-person. Like, what was it? Was it Orlando 2017 WrestleMania weekend when they did the dance thing with Swerve and Drew McIntyre? Yeah.
Yes, I forgot about that. But yeah,
I think Ospreay was in it, or Ricochet was in it, and yeah, it was like multiple people, and they all of a sudden start dancing, and then they eventually get McIntyre to get in the ring, and they're like, or they're gonna tease he's gonna dance, and then I think he might have did like one or two moves, and all of a sudden he headbutted somebody. Yeah, I
think it was I remember watching it. It was a fatal 4-way. I think, unless it was a crazy tag. Oh, I don't know. I swear Swerve was in a 4-way. Maybe I watched... What doesn't help is those WrestleMania weekends, you watch the same people on multiple shows.
So yeah. Imagine being in attendance like me and Rich and, Jeremy and Floyd and Josh have, where it's like, you go to a few of them, you're like, yeah, I saw you like 3 times. Like one... and like I saw... I'm not even joking. Like I saw NXT weekend... NXT weekend, like WrestleMania 35 weekend in New York, like that Saturday, I think Saturday or Friday, whenever there was the takeover where Johnny Gargano won the NXT title, like I saw Britt Baker on Shimmer, I think it was 113, then went to the Stardom show where she's like on the undercard, and then like, and next thing you know, like Rich and or Jeremy run into her like during the takeover. Me and Rich didn't sit together for that takeover. I sat with Dave Finishell, but like, yeah, it was like, it's interesting to see how that goes, and like there's stories like that for like New Orleans where I ran, and like Madison Eagles and a bunch of other places too. So yeah, it is crazy. It is crazy to keep up. Yeah.
And there's me just watching the odd show from abroad, going, I saw you like 3 times, Swerve. I like you, but like, you're everywhere. Anyway. Ain't nobody realer than Arn Anderson's Glock as he stares down Tully in all the chaos. In the end, Black with the miss to Pac for El Idolo to drive the man's skull down into the mat for the pin. Yeah, really hot finish without all of the chaos. They're teasing Anderson, Tully, and I'd personally keep that forever lost in teasing. Just have them go, we're going to do something, but it's like 2 old guys who are talking crap, but they both know neither of them can go. So they're just coming up with different reasons to not fight. So I just keep them apart. And this is super fun chaos in the main event, and the crowd, even though the heels won, the crowd is still going crazy after the end of it. Like, whenever a match that fun, like, who cares? Like it was a white hot.
And also Cody lost, so people are also happy about that.
Oh yeah. But yeah, for me it was 100. When as soon as I saw like he and Pac kind of like who's going to start kind of talk at the start of the match, I was just like, you've got to lose. Like it just feels like this is the moment. Give Malachi and Andrade, and the fact that Andrade got the pin as well, that was great because he hasn't picked up too many wins, as far as I know. I can't remember. Has he? Yeah. Has he gone 50-50 with Pac?
He's basically... Okay, so they both... Andrade won the first match. Pac won the second match. Pac won the match on the pay-per-view where Andrade got pinned. And then, like, yeah, so basically they basically had 4 matches, and they're both 2-2, and they both pin each other in all 4 matches.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I'd like Andrade just... Again, it was just purely after watching the entrance. I was just like, this guy feels so special. If they can then back that up with giving him the wins, I feel like this is maybe the first step towards that. Hopefully, maybe. He can pin Cody after this. That's just... He's pinned... Just, yeah. Go that route. Also, I was just thinking, watching Cody, I was like, what can they do to kind of just feed into this so much more? And I was trying to think, what do WWE do, which an AEW fan would hate? And I just thought, piped in crowd noise. When he's turning more Homelander, I don't feel like it's something to do soon, but once he starts hearing the boos, just start piping in some cheers.
God.
Just pipe it in. It's like, I'd love that. That'd be great. I don't know if you do that for the live audience, so they try and boo louder so that they can't hear the cheers, or if it's just over the TV, so like it's the next week of TV. I don't know. I like the idea of the crowd to get them to boo louder. You pipe in cheers to try and. I'd love that. Anyway, that is the end of the show. Thank you, James, for joining me on this Thanksgiving. No matter how full you are, how tired and ready for bed you are with so much food in you. Whatever. And you want to plug all of your stuff?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at JamesBoyd87. You can also follow the podcast I do weekly where we cover lots of different things throughout the wrestling week, whether it's AEW or WWE or New Japan or Stardom or even something like Noah. Just like we did earlier this week at One Nation Radio. And we do when we do the show, we also do a live stream as well. So if you want to check that out, you can follow that at www.twitch.tv/RichLotta.
Yes, I did put that address in the last episode, which I had Rich on for. So if you want to check that out as well, then you can go and go to that Twitch. Anyway, I might start including that when you're on as well, just so it's there. Yeah, I'll plug my own Twitch. It's only fair. I'll plug my guest stuff.
May as well.
You can follow me on Twitter at the Damn Implicat. That's damn as in damn. And also over at the Implications with 2 S's over on Twitch. I've done one stream within like 2 months. I'm planning to get back on it. I'm planning. Life's kicked me in the butt, but I'm planning to. Also, I will be back. I'm really looking forward to no super late nights covering a pay-per-view because I don't think I've got anything to the Royal Rumble, which feels crazy. The Royal Rumble is going to kick my ass. So with that, well, because I don't know how I'm going to cover Wrestle Kingdom, like because it's 2 shows at the Tokyo Dome, then the Yokohama show. They're not together, but it's 3 nights. It's like, what do I do? How do I cover it? I could just cover it in written form. Just not do maybe after like the 2 nights I'll do something. Because I normally do an aftershock for Wrestle Kingdom. I'm not sure if that's really doable this year. We'll see. Anyway, I'll be back on... I've not been covering Raw recently, so I might just be back in a week's time. Which is lovely. How nice that is. I did watch Raw this week, but I was amazed how quickly I got through it when I don't have to write a review. Like, I've skipped what I wanted, and suddenly I'm done in like a third of the time. It's insane. And it wasn't even like the worst episode they've done. Like, it was fine. The main plot was weird and silly, but still with the egg.
Yeah.
Me sat there on Sunday like, what am I watching? Like, I'm happy I'm covering this rather than just watching it for my own enjoyment. Because, like, what is this? What is going on? Anyway, so yeah, I'll be back for the AEW review next week. Also, you can follow Wrestling Headlines on Twitter at Russell Headlines. That's Wrestle without an E. I know I don't have to pronounce it how it's written, but it helps kind of get the gag over. Also, Wrestling Headlines on Facebook to join the hundreds of thousands of people over there as well. Anyway, with that, I say thank you for watching, liking, engaging in any form, in any manner. Always appreciated, never taken for granted. And with that,